I am the Doctor, this is my section. Earth is under my protection. Planet of birth is Gallifrey. I've got two hearts, your life is saved. Run into the Master Raw, Missy. Come on, Alonzo. Alonzi. I am a Time Lord. No, I'm not rich. 12 bodies a man. Now it's time for a switch. Don't look like that. I'm in great health. You were expecting someone else? Regeneration. Oh, such fun. When I say run, run. Run! What's up, my boy? Peace and sanity? Sorry, mustache. Reverse the polarity. Sometimes I'm north, but always a limey, wibbly, wobbly, timey-wimey. Jump in the TARDIS, go for a ride, it's bigger on the inside. Exploring all of time and space, oh, what's that? Exterminate.
Cyberman or Daleks, maybe.
Would you like a jelly baby? Time's ticking, we'd best go, a new adventure, Geronimo! I am fantastic, so are you, best come with me, I'm Doctor Who. Welcome to a brand new episode of D4WH. I am one of your hosts. I'm Adam O'Sullivan. Joining me as always, she caused controversy by being the first female host of D4WH, which was news to me as I thought I was the most eminent host of this podcast. It's Nicchia Schutt.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Why did you think you were the most feminine? I mean...
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, should I take the dungarees off? Is it a thing for you?
Yeah, well, you're wearing pants, I'm wearing a skirt, so that's probably the first indication.
Yeah, but you're cooler than me, so, you know, there you go.
I've been watching Umbrella Academy, so I get my tips from there.
All right.
Today we are joined by two guests. First, he can be found at most comedy rooms around Brisbane with his camera in hand. He runs Brisbane Comedy Snaps. It's Philip Cannon.
Hi, and thank you.
Hey, how are you
Hello,
doing?
Philip.
Hello.
How you going?
Very well.
Fantastic. Good to have you here. And last but not least, please welcome comedian Dan Dennis.
Hello.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. I'm very excited to chat Doctor Who.
I'm a bit worried about Dan because he's a bit fragile at the moment. He's just been bullied by someone at a servo.
Yes, yeah.
And,
But it was on brand.
it was on brand.
Yeah, I was buying a drink at a servo and I'm wearing a Doctor Who t-shirt for the occasion, and the man behind the counter asked me if I'm the doctor, and I said I was the doctor, and then he said, what in? And I said health science, and then he said okay, and I said, did that go the way you wanted? And he said, kind of.
I wonder what he was looking for in that.
Yeah, I don't understand what he was going for. Like,
Yeah.
I had one item, I wasn't paying for fuel.
She just wanted to get the hell out of there.
He just wanted to start a conversation.
Oh, and listen, anyone who's listening who's not from Australia, a servo is a service station or a
Gas station.
And not a motor that you use for robots.
Yeah, we add O on the end of everything.
So make sure
O.
you look forward to hearing that analogy being retold in Dan Dennis's future sets.
Yeah,
Yes.
probably.
Yes.
That's how comedy works. This is an interesting situation because I didn't know the two of you like Doctor Who, and this is happening quite often since I started the podcast.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through your history with Doctor Who? We'll start with Philip. What is your history with Doctor Who?
So I'm the oldest one in the room here.
Could have got away with not saying that, but that's all
yeah,
right.
yeah. There's no video, by the way.
And so Doctor Who was on after I got home from school at 6 o'clock in the evening. I think the first Doctor I can remember was John Pertwee. I've seen the others more recently or on replay. I don't remember it being big enough to discuss it the next day. I mean, even when I got into high school, in the 70s, the discussion the next day was usually the goodies, not Doctor Who.
Well, and the goodies did do that because I was like you. I'd come home, I'd watch the goodies and then Doctor Who. You'd have to sit and discuss the goodies and how silly and hilarious it was.
And then sit around talking about Doctor Who and how silly and hilarious it was.
No, then we'd play Doctor Who. Then we'd be the Doctor or Sarah or whoever else or the Brigadier or...
K9.
Well, so that probably sums up my involvement with the classic series. More recently, I have three sons, a 14-year-old, a 20-year-old, and if he was still with us, a 22-year-old. The eldest boy, Sam, was seriously into Doctor Who to the point that we would sit and we would watch, when Christopher Eccleston started, then with David Tennant. Sam used to have arguments with the television with David Moffat, even though he wasn't there.
Oh, Stephen
Moffat.
Sorry,
Yeah.
because he's going, no, that's not right. You in such and such episode, you did this. You can't now do that.
All right, so he was a real fan. All right, cool.
Yes, he was. And so I sort of faded away after Matt Smith. I'm a big Peter Capaldi fan, but not as the Doctor.
Oh, okay.
You liked him in The Thick and things like that? Or?
Yeah, but actually I first came, again, I'm older.
Yeah.
I first came across him in a movie set in Scotland.
Train spotting.
No, long time before Before that,
Don't ask us who was in Train Spotting. We can't get it right.
yeah.
and when I lived in London, he lived over the hill from me as well.
Oh, wow.
Because he was.
So he used to come round and be like,
And did you wait?
No,
out the film.
I never saw him. But he also won an Oscar for
a short film,
For a short film that he did, you
He's
see.
a very clever man.
Exactly. And so he brought a level of acting to it that was quite good quality.
Oh, yes.
But I wasn't interested in him as a doctor.
I thought he got his second season got way better. Like, I was never going to turn off, but it was tough. His first season, I found the first half of it tough to stay with it because I kept thinking, am I ever going to like him?
Yeah.
You know, it's just going to be a Colin Baker for me that I couldn't get into.
Did your son get into Doctor Who himself, or did he get into it through your interest? Did you?
No, himself.
Oh, okay.
Himself.
really?
In fact, if anything, he dragged me into it, though I don't think he'd seen any of the older ones. His level of knowledge was very good.
But your other two sons have no interest in it?
The 20-year-old did a bit. The 14-year-old does, but the 14-year-old would rather spend time on the PlayStation 4 fighting his friends. I feel that I got completely reinvigorated because of the latest series. That has got me in head over heels, and so much so, just so I would have something to bring along to the table, I wrote to Adam Richard and I said to him, look, I'm doing a podcast on Doctor Who this Sunday. This is what I think about Capaldi and what Jodie Whittaker's done. Any chance of giving me a quote that I could use?
Oh my God. I'm a little bit blown away that Adam Richards may know what our podcast is now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm just going to go lie under the table.
God, we're going to hyperventilate. Okay, next step is to get up the courage to ask him to be on the show. Dan, do you want to talk about your experience with Doctor Who?
So my first exposure to Doctor Who, it was the Chasers parody song, It's Hard to Get a Screw When You're a Fan of Doctor Who. That was...
about this.
I think we should put this on our Facebook page.
It's to the tune of the Doctor Who's theme song. It's like, oh, it's hard to get a screw when you're a fan of Doctor Who. That was my first exposure to Doctor Who. And then a neighbour across the street who was around my age, he convinced me to watch a couple of episodes with him. So the first episode I watched was, is it Stolen Earth?
Oh, yes. Yes.
When the Daleks, so the end of kind of...
The reality bomb and...
Yeah, well, that's a really heavy one to get into.
I don't think there was two doctors.
That was the one with all of the companions.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, man, was it?
No, because that had two doctors.
It was David Tennant, and Earth gets stolen to a different galaxy by the Daleks.
Yeah.
Catherine Tate
and
her dad.
Yes.
I think it was a 2 or 3 episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really good.
You're right. That isn't the one with
Yeah.
And then from there on out, I just kind of started watching it every year. When it ended up on Netflix, I went back and watched the Christopher Eccleston and some of the earlier David Tennant stuff. And then I've just watched bits and pieces of William Hartnell.
The first guy.
Doctor,
yeah.
Gone back and watched a bunch of his stuff because I was just kind of interested to see where it came from.
We start, as we always do, with Doctor Who news. The Guardian interviewed David Tennant about his new projects, including his podcast and Good Omens. During the interview, they asked him how he feels about the backlash against Season 11 being too PC. Tennant's response was, is it possible to be too politically correct? What does that even mean? Inclusivity has always been one of Doctor Who's strengths.
That's pretty spot on.
Oh,
That's
really
spot on.
good. Now say murder.
Murder?
Not quite, but close.
I've been listening to the podcast and it blew me away with just how Scottish he actually is.
He's very
And
Scottish.
it's very strange listening to, because one of the guests is Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And they're two very, strong accents.
Yes.
It's just so weird to hear, this thick Scottish accent speak to this upbeat American. It was great. It's a great podcast. Everyone should
it's really
listen
good.
to
You should
it.
listen to it.
It is, and we inspired him to take up the podcast.
Yes.
You know, he's copying us. It's a bit embarrassing, but we're not going to go on about
Although
it.
you listen to it, he's already got advertisers on there, and then at the end he does a list of who worked on the podcast. There's 15 people worked on it.
Yeah.
And we're just
He's always got to
3
be
people
better
in a
than
room.
us, hasn't he? He's always got to be better.
Have you heard the Jodie Whittaker one where
Yes, I have.
she talks about why didn't you use your normal accent? He's like, well, at the time they wanted me to be English. He goes on to talk about how he's never met Neil Tennant from the Pet Shop Boys, after whom Tennant borrowed his surname for his stage name.
He's never met him.
No, never met him.
Wow.
But it wasn't his first choice. According to Tennant, you had to put a little list of options down on the equity form, and my first choice was actually David Brandon, after Kirk Brandon from UK band Spear of Destiny, which would have been much better for alphabetical cast lists.
Gosh, he was really obsessed with his music, people.
Yeah, he's
wasn't
80s music. Well, he grew up in the 80s, so I'm assuming, and he started off round about then. So David Tennant is also appearing in an upcoming television adaptation of the Neil Gaiman, Terry Pratchett novel Good Omens.
Very excited.
Yes, I'm a big Pratchett fan too. So
That is going to be very exciting.
very much looking forward to the TV show, which has been adapted by Gaiman, and he's also the showrunner. Gaiman, of course, wrote the famous Sandman comic books and has written for Doctor Who as well. In the same interview, Tennant mentions Terry charged Neil with getting it made almost as his deathbed wish. So it's a real labour of love. The whole thing is dedicated to Terry's memory. His hat was at the script read-through.
Oh.
Pratchett was well known for wearing his large black fedora hats, which he wore in most promotional images. Pratchett passed away in 2015, and the next D&D session I had with my friends after that, I ran a game based on the Discworld series of novels.
You did, or David Tennant did?
David Tennant has yet to do a D&D session.
Oh, okay.
I did a D&D session. It was
okay.
based on Terry Pratchett's...
I got confused. It was
Come
Who
on,
News.
Nicchia. David Tennant's not a nerd. Come on. What were you thinking?
Oh, he likes Doctor Who. He's going
Yeah,
to be
he
a
likes Doctor
bit
Who,
of
and he
a
has
nerd.
kids, so we know that he's screwed.
Yeah, that's right. So that song is so wrong on so many levels.
It is.
Yeah, and I've read stories on the internet, so I definitely know he's screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't believe everything you read.
Well, I've written most of them. So I also credit Pratchett and Discworld with getting him into fantasy, as previously I was only into sci-fi. I hated fantasy.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
it
he
was
was the one who got you into fantasy.
Yeah, because fantasy seemed too serious. You know, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and all that sort of stuff. And so once I read Pratchett and I was
Harry
like,
Potter,
it can be
very
funny.
serious. And
Oh, well, this was
love
before Harry Potter.
Oh,
so
okay.
I got into Harry Potter afterwards. Today we are talking about the 13th Doctor portrayed by Jodie Whittaker. The 13th Doctor first appeared briefly at the end of Twice Upon a Time, with her first full episode being The Woman Who Fell to Earth, aired October 7th, 2018. She is the current Doctor as of this recording, and Jodie is the first female actor to portray the character in the show's 55-year history. Now, we are recording this just after the most recent episode Resolution, which is a New Year's special instead of the Christmas special. The 12th season of Doctor Who is currently filming and is expected to air early 2020.
It better be early 2020.
Yeah,
Like
it's
1st of January, because I don't think I can wait too much longer.
yeah, Christmas special, and then 2 weeks later, regular season.
well,
Off she goes.
they've just done a New Year's special, so I doubt they're going to do a Christmas special this year.
no,
You're calling it?
well, I'm not calling it. I'm just saying I'll be very upset.
Oh, really? You like the Christmas
The
one?
Christmas specials are the best ones.
What-
It's a good, just fun, wholesome
Well, that's true.
tradition.
But I can
I had nightmares after those Santa Clauses.
The robots.
With the head crabs?
Yeah.
Oh, no, the robot Santa Claus.
The Bride, the one with Catherine Tate, the Runaway
yeah.
Bride, that
Yeah.
was a good one.
That's a good
But
one.
I agree after 10 years that they've kind of run out of Christmas-themed things
Yeah,
to do.
I liked the New Year's special. I don't mind as long as I get a season very quickly.
Yeah. They could start parodying Christmas themed movie. Like, I know this one's definitely up for debate. I'm a bit on the fence of it, but Doctor Who doing Die Hard.
Yeah,
It's
we
been
can
a
do that.
discussion.
Yeah.
It's been a discussion.
Whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not.
I'll admit here I haven't seen Die Hard yet.
Okay,
What?
cool.
Sorry,
You've
guys.
never seen it?
No, never seen it.
They could also do The Muppets Christmas Carol.
Oh.
Doctor Who and the Muppets would be good.
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. Just wondering if I could be the new doctor.
No, the companion, Kermit the Frog. Oh man, Fuzzy
Miss
Bear,
Piggy.
Miss Piggy, Fuzzy Bear is the companions.
Yeah,
Rolf. Oh, is it Rolf? Rolf the dog.
Now,
Yeah,
I know he's
yeah.
not a Muppet, but you know who I'd like? Grover from Sesame Street.
Super
Always.
Grover is the
Yeah.
companion.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I feel like there'd be a
Always loved him.
situation where they're like, oh, we have these things and we need them to be hit like rhythmically and really hard. Is there any way we could do animal doing? Any other Christmas episodes we'd like to see?
No, but you have got to watch Die Hard.
Oh, yeah, I will. Yeah,
Yeah.
for this podcast, yeah.
Watch
I'll
it
pretend
now.
it's Doctor Who.
Off you go.
and
So-
we're back. Adam has just watched Die Hard.
Yeah.
You watched Die Hard 3. Damn it.
Yeah. You should,
I have seen the one with Samuel L. Jackson in it. Is that Die Hard with a Vengeance?
Yeah, Die Hard
Yeah,
3.
I've seen
Yeah.
that one. Any movie that was kind of on in TV in the 80s or
Yeah.
late 80s, early 90s, I've probably seen. So, Philip, you say you got back into Doctor Who with this current season. What made you decide to watch it again? The controversy around the female Doctor, or you just went...
Well, you like Jodie as an
Well,
actress?
I do like Jodie, so I know her from Trust Me, which is her acting in that is, given the precarious nature of the role she's got to act out, she holds it really, really well.
Is that the one where she's pretending to be a doctor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I can't remember. It may have been some chatter I heard amongst friends talking about how well they thought it was going to be. But I decided to go in, all in. And my allowed to mention other programs which may consider what happens after an episode of Doctor? So I decided to watch Whovians as well.
I watch Whovians, but I don't watch it while I'm podcasting. I tape it and then watch it after.
I can understand. I can understand that.
Don't want to steal
I have no
anything.
need to do that.
Yeah.
So I was holding the episode even until I could get a chance to watch both, and really enjoyed some of the nuances that were being picked up by some of the guests on that. Something that resonated with me was this was a series that you could watch if you weren't a big Doctor Who fan.
Yes.
Yeah.
That if you ever wanted to get back into it, this was a really good place to start. I knew enough from before, and particularly of the modern incarnation, but I did find that to be true. I found a level of fun in this that had been missing with the very serious.
Agreed.
Yeah, it got very serious with Capaldi, didn't it?
Yeah, it got very serious with Capaldi. Particularly that weird ship episode with the black hole and the Cybermen.
Oh,
I love that, though.
That was a great,
but
very
Very serious.
Just
serious.
like,
Very,
okay. That weird, what was the crow? Not the crow, the raven.
Oh,
Yeah.
that killed Clara.
Clara.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that was very depressing.
it was such a weird time. That said, even with this season, overall it seemed sillier and more fun, but it dealt with a lot more serious issues, but they didn't deal with those issues in like a goodish way.
Really?
Yeah. For me, it was kind of like, oh, this seems a bit too silly for a very heavy and serious issue. That's like the
like an example?
oh my god, Rosa Parks episode. Just a silly fun romp through a very racist town with a space Nazi from the year 3000.
Yeah.
And they're all having fun, and then they make the husband of Bradley Walsh's character.
Oh, Graham.
yeah.
Graham. Yep.
Yeah.
Graham is then the reason that Rosa Parks gets arrested. And you're
Yeah.
like, what? What's
Yeah.
going on here? Like,
Yeah.
Somebody said that they didn't like the way they made them part of that story.
Yeah.
And that they should have just walked away, and maybe it would have been more poignant had we not seen what happened.
I think it would have been better if they were just thwarting a space Nazi and just stopping him, and it was just kind of, oh yeah, everything turned out okay.
I suppose what they're trying to do is pick up what it used to do, which is the history education side. So,
Of course.
yeah.
you know, there'd be a lot of kids who don't know who Rosa Parks
Yeah.
is.
And if it had just concentrated on trying to tell the story of Rosa Parks, then a lot of people would have been, even more people would have been hands up in the air. This is just being really, really preachy.
Yeah.
But by twisting some other stuff in it that made it entertaining and almost derailing it all, you reinforce the story of Rosa Parks much more clearly in doing so.
Okay.
Like a lot of people complained that the baddie was nothing.
He was a good baddie. He was a great
That's
one.
right. Racists are the scariest people in the world anyway. So
And
Particularly
I
from
love that they added to the Rosa Parks story by everyone talking about, there were 4 English people here and they stole a bus. And,
Yeah.
You know, the bus driver originally thought he was going to be fishing for the day and...
well, yeah, it was a little bit convoluted.
but I thought it was good.
I thought it was
because
fun.
when they announced obviously they were going to do a Rosa Parks episode, I was like, oh, this could go either way. This could be very, very bad.
Yeah.
Could be very, very good.
You
But
know,
no,
it's
it was,
that point where you hear it and you tense up and you go, oh, God, this is going to be bad, isn't it?
You activate your core, as my PT would tell me.
You do.
It's very good. You got to do that before every weightlifting exercise.
there you go.
I had to say, you've been activating your core all episode. It's just, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you think there's a future episode coming where they end up in the middle of the Robert Mueller investigation?
Oh, my God, that'd be funny. That would be with
Maybe.
Jack Robinson.
Jack Robinson takes over. Yeah. Because he's not Donald Trump.
No, he hates Donald
He
Trump.
hates Donald Trump.
Completely different. No sketchy business.
No.
Ideas with
And
Jack Robinson.
he wasn't orange.
We don't know whether Donald Trump likes giant spiders or not.
We
That's
don't.
the main clue.
I'd like to see them bring back Jack Robinson, but now he's just made an army of spiders. That'd be awesome. Just to throw it back and say, I thought you were trying to be a good businessman. It's like, yeah, but then I found out I can create an army of spiders.
So he's the master.
Yeah.
They read my book in the panic room. They loved it. They joined me.
You don't want to be the person who gets the job of cleaning that panic room eventually, do you?
No.
When they're all dead and it's just like dead spider husks. Blech.
Just
You
curled
get
up.
out your Dyson.
I don't think your Dyson would be able to stick even the what does he do? The bowling ball test with his Godfreys. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
I feel like there has to be an episode next season where, Jack Robinson is president of the United States and he's going to be colluding with aliens, going, it's a witch hunt. There's no collusion between me and the Daleks.
Jack Robinson's space spiders.
Yes.
Defending the atmosphere.
I love that movie, Jack Robinson's Space Spiders.
Was that a banjo or what?
It's electric. I don't know. Electric banjo.
Oh, that or a strangled cat.
Yeah, it was weird that Adam did in the old 1930s radio story way of actually having a prop to make the guitar, which was him strangling a cat.
Yeah. I mean,
That's how they used to do it in the 30s, because a guitar doesn't sound like a guitar on radio, so you have to use a cat too.
Yeah.
We're going through a lot of cats lately, but anyway.
So the 13th Doctor, guys, that's what we were talking about.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
What do you like about her?
Oh,
She's got
so fun.
pluck and vim and vigor and...
She's so fun. She's so silly. She's very inclusive in the process, where she's not talking down to the other companions.
Yeah. Oh, she includes them.
She includes them,
She needs their help.
And that's a really good point because Capaldi did talk down to his companions. That's why Clara was a good foil for him because she didn't take that mansplaining shit from him. It's a gang. It's a group. You call them the Scooby Gang, but
Scooby Gang,
they
fam.
kind of are like that. She's not this god figure that the others had been. That's just my opinion.
I mean, talking about...
She could do with a standard dictionary, though.
You don't like her vocabulary?
There's a few made-up words in there.
Oh, it's Doctor Who.
I feel like a made-up vocabulary embiggens the show, you know.
Yeah, wibbly wobbly,
Timey-wimey?
timey-wimey.
That's a Simpsons reference.
Oh, sorry, I missed all that. Hang
That's
on.
all right.
Could you cut this in?
I'm going to cut that out.
I didn't get it.
Don't worry, no one else did. You weren't alone in that. It was a very deep cut of The Simpsons.
It's
It's
always good.
I'm going to need that soundbite for the rest of the episode. I'll just cut in Dan going, no one else did.
Sorry, Adam. But no, I also think it was an interesting choice of casting, not with the Doctor herself, but with her companions, because she was being inclusive and listening to their message, and it was 3 different people that represented 3 different kind of minorities in society that aren't always listened to. Multicultural.
Multicultural.
So
Yeah, multicultural,
immigrant people.
Different religion.
And people that just didn't reflect the standard white society that a lot of places like to paint as what they are, but really they're not.
That's like old Doctor Who. Everybody
Yeah.
was white. Even in outer space, they were white.
Yeah, but that was because it wasn't in colour. It
Ah.
was in black and white.
I get
Oh,
it.
I see. It was actually super multicultural back in those days.
Yeah,
but because it was
yeah.
black and
Everyone
black
looked
and white.
white.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've taken major steps backwards, really. I think there was something that I didn't particularly enjoy about her was that, with Jodie Whittaker, was that it seemed like she was taking longer to remember how to be the Doctor throughout
Yeah.
the season. Where there was just simple stuff where you'd go, oh no, surely she should remember how to do this by now, which she hadn't, which I'm not quite sure. Maybe
So is that Jodie's fault or is that the script writer?
it's the script's
Yeah,
fault.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jodie was great.
Yeah.
And it was just like, of the character, it was just weird that they kind of made her a little bit bumbling for longer.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they did. They did used to in the old series. There'd be a couple of, episodes where they just wouldn't be themselves or they'd find their way
Particularly with
around.
Tennant, I can remember them doing that. Oh, even with Matt Smith.
Yeah,
I
because
remember
Matt
Yeah.
Smith was the fish sticks and custard or something.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
The direction's different. They're not making her the
Yeah.
lonely god.
She needs her companions more than any other Doctor has before. And she asks them for help.
Yeah.
She specifically says, hey guys, what are we going to do next? Instead of the previous Doctors where they're like, okay, you do this, you do this, you do this.
I'm going to do this.
Do you think
and-
that creates a conflict in those circumstances where nobody's got a clue and she has to take control?
I think she's willing to take control. Like, she does go, you do this, you do this, you do this. Like, Demons of the Punjab, where she's has to create the machine and she goes, Graham, go get spit from a cow, blah, But then most of the time she's like, do you guys have an idea? What do you guys want to do?
I loved her in Broadchurch. So acting, I think she's just incredible. I can't equate Beth Latimer with who she is as the Doctor, which
It's
is
so-
always a good sign for an actor, isn't
We
it?
know she regenerates into the 13th Doctor because she has different coloured hair.
Ah, that's it.
Did you guys watch Broadchurch at all?
First 2 seasons.
Yeah, I watched the first season.
Yeah, it's really good.
I don't remember her from Broadchurch.
Really?
I was only
Oh.
listening, and when you were calling that out in another episode, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the showrunner from Broadchurch as well, isn't
Yes.
it?
Yeah, yeah. And of course, he loves Doctor Who because he had Rory in there, he had David Tennant in there.
Chris Chibnall, or if you listen to David Tennant's podcast, Chris Chinballs.
Chin balls.
They misspelt his name at a dinner once, and so he told Olivia Colman, and she told the world.
Good on Olivia. Let me ask you then, when she was announced as the 13th Doctor, what was your first reaction?
I was expecting Olivia Colman. I thought she was going to make a very good Doctor. And then when it was Jodie Whittaker, I was like, oh, okay. And then I looked her up and realized she was from Broadchurch. I'm like, oh, yeah, she's pretty good. It'll be interesting to see how she takes this role because she's quite a serious role in Broadchurch as a grieving mother. So I was a little bit uncertain on whether she could play Silly.
And, I'm the same. I was the same. I thought, could she play Silly? Oh, God, yeah.
I can't remember why I was expecting her to be a bit less serious. Maybe there was something, a press release or something from Chris Chibnall saying, oh, it's not going to be as serious as it has been. Yeah, I remember just being kind of surprised by that role.
Well, I'd heard rumours.
Yeah.
I'm a big Death
Great
in
Fleetwood Mac
Paradise.
album. We've all heard it.
So let me date myself. Rumours came out when I was in year 11.
Okay, cool.
So did you have the cassette?
I did indeed.
That's interesting because that's how I spend my Valentine's Day, dating myself.
Yeah. I've got pictures. Sorry, Adam.
I'd heard
Please
the
don't.
rumours of Chris Marshall
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Yes,
And-
from
and-
Death in Paradise.
and Our Family.
Love Actually.
One actor, one role.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I thought that they may go even goofier. I had no problems at all when it was Jodie.
I wanted a woman. I thought,
Yeah,
Well,
you
as-
just made that abundantly clear with your
Yeah.
Valentine's Day proclamation.
and
Yeah.
for the Doctor, I also wanted a woman. Yeah.
Because, I was expecting it to be a female Doctor, this regeneration, because it felt a lot like with the reveal that Missy was short for the Mistress. They
were
were
setting
testing
that
the
up,
waters
yeah.
to see if people would be okay with gender bending.
And she went beautifully.
Yeah, when it revealed, I was like, oh, okay, well, they're just testing the waters here to see if what is arguably the other most iconic character from the whole run of the show, starting from the 60s, if that could become a woman and people would, be the most part, be okay with it, surely they'd also be fine with the Doctor.
So the 13th Doctor was revealed in an announcement video shown after the 2017 Wimbledon men's finals on July 16th, 2017. The video has been watched more than 1 million times on YouTube, which is surprising. I thought it'd be more than that.
I did too, but I will be the first to say that I didn't want a female Doctor. I'm sorry, but because I grew up with the Doctor was always your dad or your crazy uncle or your brother. And I kept thinking, oh, I don't know if it'll work. I don't want to do it just to be PC. I want it to make sense.
That was the point I was going to ask before too. Do you think they sat around and said, right, all these men must be a woman now? Or let's think about all the people that could be the Doctor. There's no problem in it being a woman.
From what I've heard, it sounds like Chibnall came in thinking it's going to be a woman.
So they were only interviewing women?
From what I've heard.
But look,
Jodie Whittaker says that she sat down with Chris Chinballs and he said, it's going to be a woman. Do you
We're
want to
all
audition
mates
for
now.
it? Then the fact that would normally go were mainly looking at men.
The minute they announced Jodie and they did the announcement video, I actually went, oh yeah. I was worried leading up to that. They talk about female James Bond, and I just don't understand why can't we just create characters that are women to start with and make them kick-ass and amazing.
Like, how did you find out about the new Doctor? Did you just hear that it was Jodie Whittaker, or did you watch the video?
I think I heard it was Jodie Whittaker, and then I watched the video. And the reason I think that 1 million, YouTube only has 1 million, is because videos on Twitter, Facebook,
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Right. Yeah.
Not LinkedIn. Oh, my God.
Yeah, Jodie Whittaker put it on her LinkedIn.
Profile.
Oh, man.
Jodie Whittaker wants to tell you that she's the 13th Doctor.
Yeah. Just like to give her a quick endorsement.
Congratulate
yeah.
Jodie.
Yeah.
Would you like to give Jodie Whittaker an endorsement for time travel?
Yeah.
And LinkedIn, if you want to be our sponsor, please don't listen to this episode.
Yeah, so I think it would have been Twitter. It probably would have been Twitter. Just
Yeah.
seeing like either like both Doctor Who and Jodie Whittaker were trending. I'm like, oh, why's Doctor Who trending? And then finally it was Jodie Whittaker and watching the announcement video.
So the announcement video, is that the one going into the room?
She's in the forest.
She's in the forest.
She holds out her hand, the key appears, and then she takes her hood off, and it's Jodie Whittaker.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, what the fuck happened with that key thing? I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was just to show the TARDIS key. Like, it was just to
okay,
be
yeah.
like, this
Yeah,
is a Doctor
I
Who
don't
thing.
think it was part of the canon.
It was just a reveal video.
Yeah.
So I think if someone had just tuned in and they were like, what's this forest crap? It would have been like, oh, a TARDIS key.
Ah.
Even though seconds later they would have revealed the TARDIS steady there.
I know. Anyway, I thought it was quite good.
You
Thought
wanted
it was
her
a
to be
young
able
boy.
to zap her key like wherever she wants. She's like,
No, I just need to know whether or not I'd seen it. I have. I suspect I got it off Twitter.
Mine was Doctor Who News, the app.
No one stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning to watch it after the Wimbledon.
No, I'm sorry. If they'd put on a 1 hour special full of padding like they did with Peter Capaldi, I may have.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't even get up at 5 a.m. this morning to watch the final of the Romanian entrance for Eurovision.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Well, how are we going to know?
So, we'll know.
Twitter.
So what I want to know is, so you find out that we're going to get a female doctor,
Yeah.
right? So that interests you. Philip, you start watching. You were happy with that.
Yeah.
Overall, at the end of the series, comparing her to the other doctors, what do you think?
Oh, she takes it back to David Tennant for me.
I think Matt Smith was way too silly. Very silly, jovial, childlike doctor that I wasn't a massive fan of. And then there was those the serious episodes I really enjoyed.
But he brought the
Weeping Angels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Weeping Angels.
Angels to us, which still scares me.
It's so good.
They've got some at Western Plains Zoo.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't think they're real, but Zach and I convinced ourselves that they were. So the way we got away is we'd each take it in turns and holding their stare, and the other one would go back 100 metres.
Oh, that's amazing.
Got away. I don't know what the other people around thought.
If you see any Weeping Angels, please send us pictures.
Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
you don't want a picture.
Oh, that's right. Because a picture of an angel
becomes an angel.
Oh, no. Oh, that's right.
Then you
Okay.
have an angel on your phone. If they just turned off the computer, would it be trapped in there?
Ooh, maybe. You could
Just
never
with the
turn
hard
your
drive?
computer on again.
Where's all your work? It's on my computer, but there's a Weeping Angel on there.
Yeah, I
can't really turn
I
it
can't
on.
do the presentation today. There's a weeping angel on my computer.
You do the presentation, you turn around, everyone's gone. Well, I guess I aced the presentation there.
I really enjoyed Capaldi after the first season. The first
Yeah,
season
me
was
too.
the first season the Sonic sunglasses.
I think that was later.
No, that was later.
Yeah, that was just a weird thing. Capaldi
Yeah.
was pretty good. He was pretty good. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying Jodie Whittaker. I think she's a much more compelling doctor.
I think she's got a fair bit of whimsy in her.
Yeah. Fun
Don't-
to watch.
What's your favourite episode of the season so far?
My favorite episode of this season, I think, would be the Indian
Demons
one.
of the Punjab?
Yes.
We like to call it Demons of the Punjab instead of the Indian one.
I forgot what it was called.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's cracked me up.
the Demons of the Punjab, which
Yeah.
technically wasn't just the Indian one; it was the Indian and Pakistani one.
That's right. It was a good one.
It was a really good. Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
and
I really like that one.
Witch Hunt.
Witchfinders.
Yeah,
Witchfinders. Oh, yes.
What's Witchfinders?
The Witchfinder's the one with Alan Cumming.
Oh.
You didn't
Oh,
like
no,
that.
I didn't like it. Ryan, my Nubian prince.
I know him from his stand-up days.
He's been offered the role of the Doctor twice, and both times he said, well, I'm not moving to Cardiff, and they said, well, we can't give you the role then. And he's like, okay, well, I guess I don't get the role then.
I can totally see that. It would take it in another direction altogether.
Oh, yeah. He'd have to get Captain Jack on board, wouldn't he?
I really like the Arachnids, and I really like Rosa Parks.
We have a quote. A quote.
Oh, yes. Let's get to the quote from
yeah.
Adam Richards. I mentioned before, but Adam Richards was the first MC I ever had for a comedy gig.
Oh, really?
My first open mic comedy gig was at the Boundary Hotel. He was our
Wonderful place to
MC.
start.
I've had more good gigs at the Boundary Hotel than I've had at Newmarket.
Wow.
And what's his name again?
Adam Richards.
And what's his name again?
Adam Richards.
So if you say his name 3 times.
Yeah, he appears in a mirror
He appears. Adam
Dressed.
Richards, Adam Richards, Adam Richards.
as the Doctor. Wait, he appears undressed or?
I don't know.
So I wrote to Adam and said, look, I'm a guest on a Doctor Who pod this Sunday. Topic is Jodie Whittaker. My view is that she's reinvigorated the franchise, and I'm avidly watching again after nodding off during Matt Smith and slipping into a coma with Capaldi.
So you really hooked him in there.
Yeah.
So I asked him what did he think, and he said, I'm doing a Doctor Who podcast this Sunday too.
Not ours, unfortunately.
Personally, and this is Adam speaking, I had continuity fatigue. I thought Smith and Capaldi delivered some of the greatest performances the show has ever seen, but they aren't my favourite episodes. Chibnall Whittaker is very much old school episodic storytelling, with some lessons learned from Law and Order. The episodes themselves are compelling, with the main characters' personal journeys on a slow boil.
That's succinct, very succinct. I mean, we've been saying similar things. It's just
it takes
taken
us an hour.
Yeah, it's taken us 20 episodes to get to the same thing as Adam Richards does in one tweet.
Damn him.
To be fair, he used to.
But to be fair, like, we couldn't get more in-law, in-depth stuff because, I mean, near the end of Capaldi's reign, it was just basically like the Doctor Who fans watching it. We needed a season like this to get newer people in, to get kids in.
Was it just, I thought the ratings were all right still, weren't they?
It certainly wasn't as ham-fisted as the American BBC reboot that they did with.
Yeah.
That was so ham-fisted. You need to understand that I'm an alien that time travels at the beginning of each episode, just so that some American didn't turn on and go, well, this isn't true.
This doesn't make, that would be my mother. Oh, you couldn't get in a box and then appear somewhere else? That's ridiculous. People don't do that.
British police box, I don't understand.
You know what you say to your mother, don't
It's
you?
called fantasy.
Have you heard of cremation?
And you appear somewhere else, maybe.
Yeah, so, the ratings...
I'm just looking at Dan now. Dan's looking at me like, I wish she'd stop looking at me. Just straight across from me, man.
know how you feel, mate. Know how you
Catholic
feel.
or something? Like, who told her?
There are multiple videos on YouTube where you can watch Alex Kingston, who plays Riversong, finding out who the new Doctor is. She was at Rayleigh SuperCon in North Carolina and was telling a story about how Stephen Moffat had told her he wanted to make Riversong Amy and Rory's daughter because he had to make sure that she could make herself available for filming because she was on a contract. So she was talking about how good she was at keeping secrets when the hosts asked, so you know who the new Doctor is then? As a joke.
Yeah.
And of course, people in the audience had seen the video already and said, we know who it is. We know. Kingston's response was to blow kisses before saying, God, I'm always a cradle snatcher. She looks genuinely chuffed.
Ooh. Well, she is. I would love to see Riversong and the 13th Doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Getting
I
together.
didn't realise Alex Kingston's 20 years older than Jodie Whittaker.
Yeah.
She does not look it.
She's stunning.
Oh, she's amazing.
But, and she was great because she represented me, older women. We don't usually,
Women in their 30s.
companions are 19, which I haven't been for a few
that's
years
true.
now.
Do you know that Jodie Whittaker and Arthur Darvill, who plays Rory, share a birthday?
Really?
They were both born on June 17th, 1982.
The same year?
Same year as well, yeah.
Same hospital?
Yeah, they're the same person. You've actually never seen them in the room together.
I
It's
think
actually just
they
Jodie
did
Whittaker wearing a fantastic disguise.
No need to be sarcastic, Adam, okay? It was a genuine question.
Yeah.
I know they're not the same person, okay?
You're never coming back here again, are you?
Yeah, no, I hope so. It was a lovely
Oh,
trip.
yeah. We love you. We love having you.
We can't work out where all the famous movies are set. We all thought Christopher Eccleston was in Train Spotting.
Does anyone want to try and guess what Jodie Whittaker's middle name is?
Guess.
It's a place.
Well, it's not Karen.
Jordan.
Auckland.
Auckland. Her middle name is Auckland.
Yes. It was her mother's maiden name, but she's not sure where it
Wow.
came from. She assumes it
strange.
comes from the place.
A really good thing I didn't do that with my kids because their middle name would be Shoot, which, you just don't ever want to be shitty.
And as we've seen on this podcast, it's really easy to confuse that word for another word. Shot. That's what I got when I confused shoot
Shitty
for
shooty.
shit. So before the new Doctor was announced, these were the top 4 favourites for the role of the 13th Doctor.
Okay, hit me with it.
Chris Marshall, as we've mentioned, from Love Actually and Death in Paradise. Would have had an issue with that just because my mum would know who he was.
Oh, that's right.
On Netflix, Death in Paradise is always like in the top things that she
okay.
watches. So
So your mum didn't know who Peter Capaldi was?
I don't know. I don't think so. She's
You
never
didn't
seen.
ask.
And Christopher Eccleston?
Well, what sort of police dramas would they been from?
Peter Capaldi's been in Midsummer Murders and, he does guest roles in all that stuff.
Maybe.
Probably been in town.
Eccleston, of course, was in 28 Days Later.
My mum's not into zombie films, surprisingly.
And he was in Shallow Grave.
Oh, yes, that's where I know him from. I've seen Shallow Grave. Second was Ben Whishaw, who played Q in Skyfall and Spectre.
Oh, he
He
would have
said
been a
something
bit
up-
too Matt Smithy, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's done something else recently that was really good. Do you have IMDb? No, you've shown. I'll just bring it up on mine.
Well, he looks at that.
Yeah.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who created
Oh,
and
so
stars in Fleabag.
Yeah,
Oh,
she'd
yeah.
be so good.
Yeah.
She played Lando's robot in Solo.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, she's the voice of, I've forgotten the name of that robot, but she is so
Beep
funny.
boop.
She is so good.
So I call
would
every
have
robot.
loved to have seen her as the Doctor.
Yeah.
And the fourth most popular choice was Tilda Swinton, the ancient one from Marvel's Doctor Strange.
No, she's a very good actress.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah, she is. I
would have
liked
been
her
amazing.
in Burn After Reading.
Sorry, Ben Whishaw was Michael Banks in Mary Poppins Returns.
He was in the new Mary Poppins, I see.
He's also the voice of Paddington.
Oh, right.
Well, I think he would have been a bit too Matt Smithy, tilted too, maybe, I always think too serious, but maybe she could do.
I'd see her playing the roles almost across of Capaldi and the first Doctor.
Eccleston.
No, not Eccleston.
Hartnell.
Well, Hartnell was not
Who's the way
she's got that severe look.
She's got that severe look, and the way she carries herself, just because she is such a tall person, there is a lot of just kind of looking down at people. And
She could have been an interesting choice because she has a very androgynous quality
Yes.
about
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, that's
Very
true.
David Bowie-esque.
We've had some androgynous ones, sort of, haven't we?
Although if you listen to David Tennant's podcast, she talks about she was told at one point to get her upper lip waxed.
oh yeah,
Jodie was.
Yeah.
What?
And what was the other thing that they said?
I remember the lip one, the upper lip, because she was like, I didn't know that it needed waxing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's
and
got bum fluff. You can see that in...
Hasn't everyone got that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think both
Yeah.
Philip and I have more than bum fluff.
Oh, a
yeah.
little bit more than
We
bum
did
fluff.
ask you to shave your upper lips
Yeah.
before coming in. The rest of it's fine. Just your upper lip is
Oh, you can't touch the hirsute heartthrob.
the hirsute heart.
But I will say
I think we
that
might have found your Time Lord name.
Yeah.
that can be a bit of a thing because a friend went to the hairdresser and said, well, you there, can you wax my eyebrows? And she started putting on her upper lip and she went, what are you doing? She went, well, don't you want to wax you? And she went, what? And then she said to everybody, tell me when I'm getting a mustache because I don't want the hairdresser to tell me in the middle of the salon.
Well, there's nothing like body shaming, is there?
Yeah,
yeah. We have to remember the show's been going on for 55 years at this point, but the Revive series has been going for 11 years, and to get new people in, you have to make it fresh. And there's all those videos online of little girls watching the reveal video and going, as you've said before, I can be the Doctor.
Yeah.
I don't have to be the companion anymore. And that's kind of what the new series is for.
And when we were talking before about whether or not it was a PC move to get a female Doctor or not, and you talked about ball chins.
Chin balls, yeah.
yeah, chin balls.
What is it that have the ball chinians?
Ben in Black.
Oh, yes. When Chibnall turned up and said the next Doctor's going to be a woman, that sounds to me as much of we need a change to keep this fresh. You know, the obvious thing to do is a tweak here. And that would be, well, we haven't had a female Doctor.
Yeah.
Nothing necessarily PC about it, except that a whole new gender becomes aspirational for becoming the Doctor.
I want to ask the men here, what do you... I'm setting a trap. No, I'm not.
Oh, am I not allowed to answer because you're asking the men? Or?
What I want to know is what are your thoughts on the groups that are out there doing that Not My Doctor?
Oh, yes.
What are they called?
No, they're just called fuckwits.
Okay.
What they're called.
The fuckwits then.
People who, before the series had even aired, were like, this is not my Doctor, and alien that has 13 lives cannot never be a woman because...
There's a lot of that. They're saying that they can see that the final episode was all about how single fathers are crap.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so
not
they're
the
reading...
Dalek.
They're reading a lot more into it. And what would you say to them to change their mind?
I don't know what I'd say to change their mind, but my opinion on it is that I fucking hate it. It's so bad. Particularly to reference another sci-fi franchise, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right before Force Awakens came out, it seemed like everyone was back on board on Star Wars. I didn't have to be so kind of not closeted about how much I love Star Wars, but like it was just people were like, I know you really like Star Wars. Can you tell me some stuff about it? And I could chew their ear off for an hour. So some stuff. But now, particularly after the reaction to The Last Jedi and a whole bunch of the female cast are quitting social media due to us.
Isn't that terrible?
It's so terrible that you just kind of don't say that you're a fan because it's gone back to that old stereotype of women hating men. Mm-hmm. What I would say to those people who are ruining everything I love for me is to just grow up, get over it. Just like personally, how does it affect you? In the same sense with a lot of kind of social change issues, it's like, how does this personally affect you in a negative way? Oh, it doesn't. Accept it, move on. There's bigger stuff to worry about.
Yeah.
Well, there is much bigger stuff to worry about.
It's such a silly thing. It's the worst hill to die on.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
I love that saying. That's really
it's
good.
barely a hill.
But I guess,
it's a slight incline at best.
Yeah.
So do you think they are genuinely outraged?
I think they are genuinely outraged.
So where do you think that's coming from?
I would imagine a lot of them, something bad has happened in their childhood, and
They don't like women.
That's lazy.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying there'd be, for the same reason why there needed to be a female doctor, so that for aspirational reasons, and then there might have been something that happened to them that they were young, that they always identified with the doctor, and it's been such a crutch of how their life was put together that now they feel like they can't identify with something that means so much to them anymore, and it feels like they're having something taken away from them.
And
that's why I think
so they lash out.
That's where I think the rage is coming from.
And that last point, I think, is bang on the money. Losing something, which is a byproduct of change.
Yeah.
Any change. You get things, you lose things.
Yeah. Well, that's life, isn't it? When you're comfortable, something happens.
They're the same people that we're seeing in the hashtag not my doctor.
Yeah.
Are the same ones complaining about political issues as well. And a similar thing, not based on any logic. They can construct some sort of rationale around it, but it's very, very poor.
They're confused. Not my doctor and not all men is like, well, you're talking about bad men who do these things, but I'm not a good person.
Yeah.
So why are you blaming me? You know, they're putting themselves into that. And when they change to a female doctor, it's like, well, I've always identified with the male version of the doctor. Why are you doing this to me? They're just doing something different.
Do you think there's a level of misogyny in it? Do you think that they don't like women, or it's more that they love Doctor Who, they've had that crutch with it, and now that's taken away from them? They feel like everyone's taking away everything that they ever had.
Is it the same cohort that go after female gamers?
I don't want to say that all of them are in that same boat, but there would be a small minority of them that, would be into the Gamersgate thing where they suggesting that female reporters were sleeping with game devs to get better reviews for their score, for their games. And there's
apparently if you have a vagina, that's all you do. You use it and abuse it so you can get everyone like.
As we've spoken before about how boys up till now have grown up being told, be a good person, you'll be given a beautiful woman as your wife. And you grow up and you're like, oh, I've actually got to work to be in a relationship with someone. I've got to actually be a good person and not just, it won't just be handed to me.
When you say they're told this, the marvel of advertising.
I don't say they're explicitly told it, but they're suggested it through romantic
'cause that's like
comedies
Russian
and...
Bride.
I was going to say, Adam, I have a lot of questions about your child.
No. I mean, it's suggested. It's suggested in...
Adam, when you grow up, you're going to get a wife.
But going back to the other part of your question, what can you say to those people to change them? I'm not convinced you can say anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Many, many, many Twitter battles and fights on Facebook tell me that you're not playing people with a full deck.
Probably.
But the basis for the decisions they're coming to or the reasons that they have, we might not understand. I don't know how you work with that. It's causing great problems in a number of areas right now. And social media gives those people a voice, which in one way is a really good thing. In another way, they need to take some ownership for it.
Yeah.
I'd like to know if they'd say it directly to someone's face, or do they have to hide behind
the anonymous
anonymity?
stuff I really dislike. If you've got an opinion, that's fine, have an opinion, but put your name to it.
Anyone who tweets or sends a message to someone and their message is basically, I don't like the thing you did, so you should kill yourself, or something along those lines, you have disregarded your argument altogether.
Yeah.
You have basically said, my argument is pointless. I am actually being so evil that you should not listen to me. And in some ways, it should be freeing to the people who make Doctor Who. As soon as they find out, oh, these people don't like Jodie Whittaker from the moment that she was announced as the Doctor, without even seeing 1 second of footage of her being the Doctor, they should just go, okay, well, you guys don't matter anymore. We won't try and target your demographic anymore because you've already shown us you will hate us no matter what we do.
Do you
That's
think
true.
it may turn up inside a future storyline?
I think there would be something really good about that. If they're going to do stuff about social issues, I'm not just picking out these particular cohort. This is just the one that's been really obvious to me as a Doctor Who fan, and quite a shock, because I kind of thought we were all in it together. I never really thought about the men and the women. I just thought we're Whovians, we're all in it together, and we're bloody well not.
So if they're recording now, you say in South Africa, is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are you expecting a Brexit-inspired storyline in the next series?
Why not?
Maybe. I
Actually, if they're recording in South Africa, they're probably helping Nelson Mandela get out of jail.
Probably.
Yeah,
That's
probably.
the episode, yeah.
You know he's dead.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
No,
I'm
but they've
aware.
gone back in time, and they've probably got an episode
Yeah.
about Mandela.
Yeah, you know, the Doctor can time travel, right?
Yeah, it just usually seems to be the UK.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
When is the Doctor coming to Australia besides the one little...
Well, they filmed in South Africa for this season. It was a different planet, so...
Oh, okay. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a Brexit thing, but I don't think it'll be next season simply because people still don't know what's
Still
happening.
raw.
Yeah. We got a Brexit joke in this season. I think Brexit is, first of all...
The most important meal of the day.
That's right, exactly.
It is.
Make sure you have your Brexit kids. Brexitos.
Yeah.
You don't know whether they come from Europe or not. You would expect Brexit to have been finished by the time this show comes out in 2020. Now, yeah, benefit of hindsight that it's a shit show at the moment.
If somebody wants to have a national emergency, Trump hasn't got it.
May
Theresa
not,
May.
May not even be sorted out by the time this episode comes out. You wouldn't want to write something that's so up in the air because you wouldn't want to write an episode being like, oh, that Brexit was fantastic. Who would write that line?
But what
I
if
don't
you
know.
did it
And
on
then
another planet with another species
Yeah.
and it was a similar thing?
Yes, and you don't calling it Brexit.
Mexit for Mars. Although it sounds like something else.
No, they've solved that one. They're building a wall.
Yeah. Or your exit for Uranus.
Oh.
Well, can't wait for Doctor Who to travel to Uranus.
I thought you meant one of Jupiter's moons, Europa.
Nope.
No, Uranus. That's,
Uranus.
That's
No,
my
no.
favourite planet. I was sitting in with my daughter's kindergarten class millions of years ago. They were doing all the planets with balloons.
Yeah.
And they must have forgotten there was an adult in the room and they went, and the brown one here, what's that? And all the kids go, Uranus. And then she looked at me and I laughed. I thought that was quite
Well, apparently
cute.
we're not supposed to be saying Uranus.
It's
we should
Uranus.
Uranus.
No.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a urinary tract infection.
That was started by TV journalists because they didn't feel comfortable saying Uranus,
Uranus.
on television.
It's like the word root.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take this route. And now people say route because they don't want to say root.
I was also just going to quickly touch on the misogyny thing.
Please stop touching me.
Yes, please.
I think it might not have started from a place of misogyny.
Yeah.
But I think it might later become a misogynistic thing when they see a lot of their favorite things being taken away and being
Yeah.
replaced with a
Yeah.
female lead.
Yeah.
I
Well-
think that's when the misogyny would start to kick in.
It attracted misogynists.
Yes.
It may not
Oh,
have
yeah.
started that
Yeah.
way, but a good party for
It was
them.
the same with Gamersgate. They originally started just because they wanted to make sure all reviews of games were fair and honest and stuff, and then all of a sudden it turned into, no, female journalists and female game devs use their sexuality to get the reviews that they want.
God, the vagina is powerful.
I just want to go back to Jodie. As good as she is, and I like the whimsy and I like the way they've done the series, what makes her is her companions this time. I think there's been a real attempt to balance some things there. The further we go with it, I'm really invested in what they do. The further we go, the more we find out about them and the more they seem to find out about each other.
I absolutely agree with that because not that the new companions have been one-dimensional, but they have not been as important as the Doctor. I mean, Rose kind of did get to that, but then there was a bit of a backlash with Rose there. But I'm in love with Graham. I think he's fantastic. I love Yaz. I don't know enough about her.
Yeah.
Brian was a bit of a whiny ass, but he seems to have settled down a bit now. I'm curious as to what happens to them as much as I am about what planet they go to, what alien they catch up with, or what part of history they turn
Travel
up
to.
to.
And
yeah.
they all solve problems in different ways.
And that's what's good about them. The
Did
Doctor
any of you
has to
bring
have
a
to
cheese
be
and
everyone.
pickle sandwich?
I identify a lot with Graham because it's like, yeah, I would be hungry all the time too.
I'd be tired all the time. I go, do we sleep at all, ever?
yeah.
I'm very tired.
It's a very Hobbit-esque trait.
In one line, answered an issue that lots of people have had for
Yeah,
a long
yeah,
time
yeah.
about Doctor Who. Apart from fish fingers and
Custard, yeah.
you don't see them eat.
Well, in the books, didn't they have a vending machine? I think at one point there was some sort of
maybe.
weird-ass vending machine in the TARDIS. I don't know.
Next season, I'm expecting Graham to come out as they're in the TARDIS room and he's like, whoa, don't go in there. I just took a massive shit.
I think they have referenced.
Yeah, Nardal did that.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Because
Yeah.
Bill said, I'm just going to use the toilet. Bill said, I'm going to use the toilet. And Nardal said to her, ooh, I'd wait a while if I were you.
I'll have to watch that episode again. Oh, my God.
As you would know from listening to our podcast religiously, and
Yes.
We are hoping to start a religion.
it'll be great. What we ask all of our guests is, what would your Time Lord name be? You pick something that either what you aspire to be or who you think your personality is. So Adam is the nerd.
The nerd.
Yeah.
My family called me the commander. We haven't got one for Beck yet, have we?
No, what was yours? The artist.
The artist, that's
We did
it.
ask.
What would your Time Lord name be?
This is probably based on what my colleagues at work would call me.
Okay.
Does it suit you?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, the Trivia King.
The Trivia King. Oh, I like
Ah.
it. So you would step out of the TARDIS and each time be like, oh, this planet, I know everything about it.
Well, I know nothing important,
no.
only trivia.
Yeah. I've got a fun fact.
That would be your catchphrase. I've got a fun fact.
I've got a fun fact.
That's great.
That's
I love
a
it.
debate. That's a debate I've started with my dad on at what point does a bit of trivia stop being trivia, because you can do something with it. You can win trivia. So, like, it has to... Something is only technically trivia.
It's not trivial then.
Yeah, if it's not on a quiz, I think that's trivia.
Step out of the TARDIS. Oh, fun fact for you. This sort of atmosphere can only support life for a couple...
Yeah.
All right, come on.
Oh, man, I don't really know.
We've given you so much time to think about
I know.
it. Do you want to stick with the Hirsute Heartthrob?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Philip called me the heartthrob earlier. Might just jump on that one.
The
Don't
heartthrob.
share any pictures of me, please.
He's a cub. He's a cub.
Hey, look, I always say I'm a sex symbol for people who've given up on life. So,
Yeah.
you know, we can
And
all...
I've just given up on life.
Yeah.
So.
We can
Oh,
all...
the sparks are flying at us.
What are you doing after this, Heartthrob? So you want to be the Heartthrob?
Yeah, I'll just be the heartthrob.
So what, are you just going to charm the locals?
Yeah, I can do that pretty well.
Yeah,
I
pull,
can charm.
pull things out of your beard. Look at that.
Hey,
Here's a bit of trivia.
yeah, a couple of crackers.
That's what I had for lunch a week ago.
You don't want to be called the Beard?
No.
No, think that through.
I think we've figured out from this podcast, I think nothing through.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. It's only when people are laughing, going red, looking at me with daggers in their eyes, and I'm like, wait, did I say something wrong? Dan, Philip, anything to promote? Philip, do you want to go first?
Well, just my Instagram account, Brisbane Comedy Snaps, as I go around the rooms. I haven't got any of you.
No.
No.
I do have some of Dan there.
You'll catch a lot of our guests on in those photos. Ashwin,
Yeah.
Claudia.
And I'm hoping to have a exhibition later in the year.
That'd be great, yeah.
Oh, I better get in one of those photos.
Dan?
And then if you just want to find me anywhere on social media, or even if you don't want to find me and you just want to help me achieve my dream of becoming a brand ambassador for Lick Ice Cream, please like and follow me on Facebook, Dan Dennis Comedian, on Instagram, Beer Battered Boy, on Twitter, Beer Battered Boy. I've got Beer Battered Boy for pretty much everything, so if you just search Beer Battered Boy on any of those, you should be able to find me.
Tell me the Lick Ice Cream story.
I just love Lick Ice Cream, and I want to become a brand ambassador and get free ice cream. That is it, completely.
Did you try their special releases for Australia Day this year?
I'm so annoyed. I really wanted to. There was the Lamington and a Pav one, wasn't there?
Yes. I haven't had the Lamington, but I have had the Pav, and it's just like having a Pav.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've recently had their strawberry and contro one. Oh boy, that is delicious. That is a deadly combination.
So Lick Ice Cream, if you want to be sponsor D4WH, that'd be great.
For me, as I said, I'm still all in at the end of every month. Then Nicchia Shoot Comedy.
So Adam, are you going to do any more Simpsons references in your plugs? Or like the one that...
The one that killed.
Yeah, I don't know. Monorail.
Come on, Spotty. Come on, Smelly. That was the Simpsons one as
That
well.
was a Simpsons reference. That's, thank you for tuning in for our Simpsons reference segment.
Go banana.
Purple Monkey Dishwasher.
Shut up, liver.
As always, you can follow Adam O'Sullivan Comedian on Facebook and visit thenerdinfinite.com. D4WH is on Facebook. Give our page a like for updates and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at D4WHpod. We'll post questions and polls and would love your input and feedback. Rate and review us on iTunes, recommend us on Facebook, and follow us on Podbean. We're also now available on Spotify and Stitcher. Help us get the word out. Tell your friends about us, and if you see someone on the street wearing a Doctor Who shirt, politely go up to them and suggest our podcast. Remember, if you don't like something that someone's made, then go and write a story about it or write a audio play or something about it. Don't go on Twitter and say, fuck you, I don't like it.
Because that's awful.
And until next time, keep searching the skies for the Doctor. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
This has been a production of The Nerd Infinite. And then the sound of dragons spitting fire and stuff. What? Why are you looking at me like that?